Unless one has an affinity for looking ridiculously foolish, it is wise not to stumble aimlessly into a fantasy football draft. The Ultimate Draft Kit from the Fantasy Footballers contains all the information you need to avoid the jeers of your enemies and to snuff out any glint of hope in their souls. Imagine the gasps those trouser-wearing turnips will emit as you make yet another triumphant draft selection. Imagine their tears forming a formidable puddle as you assemble an unstoppable force. The Ultimate Draft Kit comes bursting at the seams with fantasy goodness. When you enter the draft room, you'll feel as if you were a monstrous beast let loose in a chicken coop. Head over to ultimatedraftkit.com today.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast, coming to you from pristineauction.com studios with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Welcome in.
Happy birthday, Andy.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Why did you transform into Eeyore?
My wife always does a happy birthday. I think that's from something.
It is from something.
I don't have a clue what it's from other than my wife.
I don't remember where that's from.
My
though.
wife.
Brooks, do you remember?
Do you know how much I held back on that?
Welcome in to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Little known fact, you do a lot for the conservation of our
Water.
the species and water, all those things. When
Nature.
you get the UDK.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Totally.
You could hear the birds chirping.
Well, because it's a digital product, so you save trees.
That's right. We don't use any paper.
No more magazines.
No. Save the earth.
Save the magazines. Wait.
That was a live clip from I think it was Planet Earth 3.
Yeah, soon to be released.
Yeah, soon to be released. Welcome into the Fantasy Footballers. We've got a great show today. Some news, some notes, and some forgotten players. That is the focus of today's show. Looking at some players that maybe had down years due to injury that have been forgotten, ignored. Maybe you haven't been actively pursuing them in your leagues, but you should remember them. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to help you remember them today.
Yeah, every year there are a couple players that stick out, that, man, you just kind of forgot about, and they came back and they were really helpful for fantasy. So we're going to take a look at all the guys that kind of went away. You might forget about how they did, and we're
you forget because when you're cruising the end of season standings, you're looking at who are the top 20 running backs, top 20 wide receivers. These players won't show up because they did not have enough games to get to the top.
And for some of them, I think we'll cast a negative verdict of maybe we don't believe that they're going to do well, but others it's really a matter of making sure that they don't drop too far in your own.
Remember to dislike them.
Sure.
Twitter at the FF Ballers. You can follow the show over there. Follow Mike at FF Hitman. Follow Jason at JasonFFL. I'm at Andy Holloway. Jointhefoot.com is the community for our listeners. There's over 5,000 of you over there that get an extra episode every week, so check it out. Here's a question brought on by some recent news. 29-year-old Rob Gronkowski has announced that his time has come. He is retiring from the NFL. Is he the best tight end of all time?
It's a loaded question.
Well, I prefer to answer it only in the fantasy realm, in which case
that's an easy
answer
yes.
is yes.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Honestly, I think you could answer it yes in either. I want to make a Mike Ditka joke, because obviously he'd win in a fight as a better tight end, but fantasy is the only thing that really matters. Gronk was dominant to a degree that, look, the peak of Antonio Gates, the peak of Jimmy Graham,
Tony Gonzalez.
Yeah, I feel like Tony Gonzalez's
Shannon Sharp,
peaks
Witten
weren't as high. Yeah, Witten was great. But
Gronk was more of a force than anyone was when he was at the top of his game. And he averaged 0.69 touchdowns per
it's very Gronkian
game.
Look,
It is.
The way I break down the question because he doesn't have the longevity that Tony Gonzalez or Jason Witten. He doesn't have that. His body started to break down. But the way I'm looking at this question, if you could have any tight end at the peak of their career for one game because they are the best, I don't know how you would not pick Rob Gronkowski.
No, I mean, he's heralded because of his pass catching, his touchdowns, but he's an unbelievable run blocker. He just dominated the game in all facets. And if you were to tell me pick a career, so not just peak year for 1 year, who would you pick? But if I could have, Gronk's, what do you have, 9-10 years in the league versus the longer career of a Jason Witten or Tony Gonzalez, I would take Gronk. Gronk helps you win championships, helps you completely destroy the defense.
9 seasons in the NFL. Did not play a full 16 games except for one season in 2011. That was it. During that season, he was targeted 124 times, 90 receptions, 1,327 yards, 17 touchdowns.
That's bananas. You do yourself a favor because they're going around right now on the Twitter sphere. Go watch Rob Gronkowski highlights so you can wash your mouth of last year. When you saw him on the field, that was not the Gronk that you're used to watching. Go relive his glory days and go, oh, yes. That's the guy who I thought I was drafting last year who just dominates.
Fair enough. Goodbye, Rob Gronkowski.
Yeah, see you, buddy.
Glad I traded for Vance McDonald in my Dynasty League.
News and notes from around the league, presented by Sleeper.
Despite the retirement, the current reports are that Jared Cook will indeed sign with the New Orleans Saints, giving Drew Brees
Is that still a report of will sign?
As of this recording, Monday, March 25th,
because
he had not signed with the Saints
That
yet.
was breaking news over the weekend that
Yes.
Jared Cook was signing.
I keep waiting for the official signing.
What's taking so long?
He insists on one of those really big feather pins, and they don't have them, so he's waiting for him to bring him one that you dip into the ink thing.
Yeah, and then you need an octopus.
An octopus?
Oh, you need to manufacture the ink?
To get the ink, yeah.
Do people write in octopus ink?
It's only the classiest authors do.
Really?
Yeah, Steinbeck was a huge proponent of octopus ink.
I did not know that.
I had no idea.
Thank you.
The Rams matched the offer to Malcolm Brown.
Stupid Rams.
Yeah,
and signed him to a 2-year deal. And so he returns to the Rams. And C.J. Anderson doesn't expect to re-sign with the Rams.
Yeah, he'll be on the open market, which has been very cold for him. So I don't expect great things there. It's also bad news for Kerryon Johnson in case now that Malcolm Brown doesn't come in, maybe they look higher.
Anderson's going to go get that Malcolm Brown contract from Detroit.
He certainly could.
John Lynch, GM of the 49ers, says Jerick McKinnon will remain with the 49ers.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was the original expectation, right? The Freeman and Tevin Coleman role, but now there's 4 guys there, and that's a murky situation. I don't think fantasy owners want a part of.
So if you look back to last year and the success Matt Breida has, I think it's wrong of fantasy owners to presume Jerick McKinnon is the starter on that team. I do not think that is a foregone conclusion by any stretch of the imagination. And a lot of people in San Francisco believe Matt Breida will be the starter of that team, and Tevin Coleman and Jerick McKinnon will split that secondary work. That's what I've been reading. That's what I've been hearing. Matt Breida was over 5 a touch last year. They like him, and you're not just necessarily going to give first and second down work to Jerick McKinnon just because you paid him money in the past, because they could have cut him.
I think it's just going to be everybody. I mean,
and that will be
They've gone the route of usually teams have a change of pace running back. You have guys who have very different styles, but they complement each other. You got Derrick Henry, you got Dion Lewis. And that's not what the 49ers are doing. They want the exact same player to come in for running back, and we'll see how it works. But I think all 4 of those guys will be playing, and it's good. I think it's a strong move. It's a smart move for San Francisco, the football team.
Right.
But for fantasy purposes, you have absolutely evaporated 4 players who could be helping your fantasy team.
I've always felt like it was dumb to have the like big bruiser or the pass catcher, and those are the only 2 things they do. Is like who's in the game right now?
You're telling me, Jason, you're telling me that old school NFL mentality has some cracks in it?
I think, yeah, a little bit. Maybe the new misdirection, the guy's on the field, you don't know what he's going to do because he can do everything, is the better route.
I worry that people will swing the pendulum too far. What does it for that offense, right? You didn't end up with Odell Beckham Jr. traded to San Francisco. You didn't end up with Antonio Brown traded to San Francisco. Jimmy Garoppolo coming off the injury. 4 competent running backs in the system that produces great numbers for them last year. Look, I don't blame him because last year everybody got hurt. They needed to turn to somebody new at a moment's notice. But what does this say to the offense? You got 4 competent running backs. Jimmy Garoppolo, where do you see Garoppolo this year? Is this an offense that will be entirely predicated on the run and those running backs?
No, not the run. I mean, why they're so great, why you have all these running backs, they're all great pass-catching running backs. None of them are the bruisers. So, if anything, if we're talking what the offense, it helps Garoppolo. Garoppolo is going to be, at this point, he's shaping up to be one of my favorite quarterback targets late in drafts because I think he can easily be a top 12, potentially a top 10 guy with some upside on a weekly basis because of the Kyle Shanahan system. But last year he was just going too high. I mean, people fell in love. Mm-hmm. Look, I get it. You look at his face, you fall in love. He's so handsome. But now he's going to be a fair price in your draft, and I'll be interested, assuming I see Jimmy Garoppolo out there doing things coming off the ACL tear.
I was going to say, as beautiful a man as he is, I want to get a glance at that ACL.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that ACL is in
I
good
want
shape.
that thing pristine.
All right. Okay, this is official. Jeremy Maclin, the dirty cake himself, has announced his retirement.
Are we in a time machine?
Yeah, I was going to say, years ago.
Malcolm Mitchell retired. Free agent, wide receiver.
That's unfortunate.
10 knee surgeries for
Is that
Malcolm
the
Mitchell.
actual number, or are you being hyperbolic?
That is the actual number that I read.
And if you did you guys follow Malcolm
Would you go
Mitchell's
back and just not do any of them then if you could? Like, in hindsight, he never played again.
Right.
So would you go back and,
no,
keep it down to 2 or 3?
I mean, he made some money. But do you guys know, are you aware of Malcolm Mitchell's story of I
know he's a writer.
Well, he headed into college, was reading at like a 3rd grade level, going into college, and then worked his butt off. He's in this reading group, that was highlighted on Monday Night Football or something. But this is really sad for me seeing because I thought Malcolm Mitchell could be a great player, but he was also a great off the field story in a world where we don't frequently get those types of players. So goodbye, Malcolm Mitchell. I'm sorry to see you go so young.
Yeah. Well, he should have a good post-NFL career.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Published author. That whole story is basically Jason's story, minus the author and the reading group part.
And thankfully the knee surgery part.
The Raiders GM Mike Mayock said Marshawn Lynch will make a decision about his future following
What a jerk!
the draft. Following the draft.
Oh, Marshawn.
That's great.
Yes.
Does he want to see how committed they are to him?
I guess. Marshawn, that's not fair to the team.
I don't know why that is. I don't know why you wouldn't be able to tell him, I don't know, before the draft.
Because he's Marshawn. He does what he wants.
Any other news, guys?
Not from me.
All right, that was today's news and notes brought to you by Sleeper. During the offseason, now's the time to ask your commish if you're using the right platform. Check out Sleeper. We hear from tons of you guys every day that start new leagues over on the Sleeper platform. All right, main event time.
I'm fine. Totally fine. I don't know why it's coming out all loud and squeaky, because really, I'm fine.
All right, we're talking about forgotten players coming back from injury.
They're fine.
Well, they insist it. I would not draft Gronk coming off of a banged-up year.
Coming off of retirement?
Yeah, coming off of retirement.
Now, in fairness, if you don't want to draft Gronk coming off a banged up year, that means you wouldn't have wanted to draft him
Ever.
Yeah.
You know, man, really wish I would have traded him a week ago.
I tried to tell you. I finally got one of these retirements right.
Yeah.
Finally.
Yeah. All right, let's start at the wide receiver position. That intro to this segment, I think it sums up my feelings on this next guy. A.J. Green played 9 games last year. Hurt his hip, his groin. Week 3 was the week the injury happened. Week 8 and 9, he had a right toe injury. He had turf toe in week 13. That's when he was out for the season. That's the triple threat by way of injury. What do we think about A.J. Green coming back? Because, look, he and Julio Jones, right, they came out the same year.
Right.
And so they've had these parallel type of careers. And here's Julio Jones, who, by the way, is on the precipice of signing the highest-paying wide receiver contract in football.
Yeah, it's rumored to be north of $50 million guaranteed 4 or 5 years. To me, the situation, they came out same year, very similar style of players, same age, but at the tale of 2 different stories at this point in their career. I literally, in our Dynasty League, just traded A.J. Green plus a couple of other guys to upgrade to Julio Jones. I'm worried about A.J. Green. He is
Short term or long term?
More long term, but I see some worries with, the foot problems that he has are foot problems that sometimes have, a reoccurrence. And so that worries me, right? Like this season, he's up there in age and he's coming off. He just got the boot off. Like this was great news a week or 2 ago. He got the boot off. That's just
the boot off of your team is what you mean.
He got both boots off. And that's just not what I want.
Brooks, you're going to allow that?
Brooks loved it.
Oh, yeah, I'm cracking up over here, man.
My goodness.
Yeah.
It's the birthday. That's the birthday bonus over there for that joke.
Birthday bump. So I'm a little bit concerned. Look, on a per-game basis when he's out there, I think he's going to be great because he usually is.
Well, look back what he did. The only game that was bad for A.J. Green, week 3 when he got hurt.
Not really that bad.
When he got hurt, and he was still like, for a guy who got hurt, took your 8 points and you took the lumps, and then week 13 when he tried to come back and couldn't. Other than that, A.J. Green was good.
Now he gets an upgraded offense, you could argue. Marvin Lewis out of the way. They've got offensive-minded people coming in. A.J. Green has talked about how they're going back to the system that he had when it was like Gruden and A.J. Green dominated. So there is a case to be made that he is, just a top guy slipping in drafts right now who'll be a top 5 wide receiver.
It was the same case as last year as well. I mean, last year we made a similar case. He only had 1,000 yards, 75 receptions. The year before was only 10 games played. So we've seen 3 of the last, 5 years. He's not played 16. That's been the concern and the problem. Also a slight lack of confidence in Andy Dalton in the offense and different pieces and what they're going to do. Matthew Betts, one of our writers, he talked about surgery to repair torn ligaments in the foot. There's a good chance of recurring issues. He doesn't feel confident with him playing 16 games, but when he was in, like you said, 78% of his games were good games, posted the 3rd best contested catch rate among wide receivers last year. He was the same old A.J. Green when he's on the field, but I don't know. He has there's a little bit of fatigue, I think, for fantasy owners when it comes to A.J. Green because you haven't had league-winning type of consistency from him.
Right. And there's also contract problems, right? Like the Julio contract news that they definitely want to get a deal locked in, sign him for 3 or 4 or 5 years versus A.J. Green, he's on his last year of his contract. They've been quiet. He's coming off injury at an old age. Maybe he's playing somewhere else next year, or like you brought up with Andy Dalton.
And what do they do in the draft?
Quarterback this year.
What do they do in the draft too? And so would you say this, considering all of that, and not necessarily banking on him returning to form or not, but do you think he will be underdrafted relative to what he will do this season? Or do you think it's an appropriate bump down?
I believe he will be underdrafted. If you know you're going to get 8 weeks, I think he will be underdrafted.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that when you draft him, he's going to come out of the gate and be better than where you drafted him at. It's just a matter of can you get the full
draft
season?
him and then trade him.
So in a dynasty league, Mike, I was trading with Jason a couple weeks ago. I could have had A.J. Green, could have had T.Y. Hilton. Who do you take in that situation? Because
in dynasty,
I went with
take
Hilton.
I would take Hilton.
Yeah, I was the same way. I was trying to get rid of A.J. Green instead of
This year, Adam Thielen, A.J. Green.
this year. Adam Thielen,
Yeah.
Keenan Allen, A.J. Green. This year.
Keenan.
All right. Here's a you got something to say.
Yeah, is that
you got
would
something
you
to speak?
I do. Would
about,
you take those same guys over A.J. Green, or would you take A.J. Green over either?
No,
of
I
them?
would take all of those guys over A.J. Green.
Okay. Well, then there you go. We're in agreement. And we want to thank today's sponsor, Hulu. Hulu is great. I love Hulu. Look, have you ever sat courtside at a basketball game? Andy and I have, and it ruined every other viewing experience for the rest of our lives at any game. That's what Hulu is doing to TV, because they're making your viewing experience so good you just don't want to go back. That's pretty much the gist of the Hulu commercial that I've been seeing going around everywhere. That it's all about how now Hulu has tons of shows and movies, exclusive originals, plus live TV for sports, all that. And look, once you get Hulu, it's going to ruin your TV forever. I apologize to everyone for nothing, because Hulu is great. Look, start your free trial at Hulu today. Go to Hulu.com. That's HULU.com. You won't be disappointed. Try Hulu out. Hello.
Well, that's different than Kulu.
I'm not familiar with Kulu.
I am unaware.
Or is it Cuckoo, as in Cooper Kupp?
Huh?
That's a transition.
Bro,
we're letting that happen.
I'll be honest. I actually read his name as I definitely read it as Kulu in my mind.
Okay,
but it wasn't. It's Cooper Kupp who we're
need a
talking
ruling
about
from
now.
the judge.
That was the rapper from the '90s with Gangsta's Paradise.
Coolio. That was the transition. All right, Cooper Kupp, 8 games last year.
Coolio Kupp.
No. Left MCL sprain, week 6, torn left ACL, week 10. Cooper Kupp made more of a difference to that offense than I think we all understood until he was gone. 63% of his games were good when he was on the field. He monstered out in week 4. That was the 33-point performance. Had a couple double-digit games before that. Missed a couple games with the MCL sprain. Came back, looked good, and now what to make of Cooper Kupp next year? We as fantasy owners have such a hard time looking at Cooks and Kupp and Woods, knowing who's going to be the most appropriate and highest draft pick.
I mean, if Cooper Kupp were healthy and not coming off the ACL tear,
he's your guy.
He's the easy pick because he's going to be later.
Even over Brandon Cooks?
Because of the draft cost. I mean, Brandon Cooks is still going to cost more. Cooper Kupp is just an absolute touchdown monster. I mean, they transitioned his role. He's the big slot guy. Like, he's a 6'2" wide receiver playing in the slot. 6 touchdowns in 8 games, and that's not even really in 8 games because he missed basically 2 of those. I think he's a great player, and he fits exactly what they want in that offense. It's just judging how ready is he to come back off a torn ACL. It was a week 10 ACL, so you're talking that's at the point where the timeline could be a little sketchy.
Yeah, it's going to be dicey. You're not going to see OTAs roll around and him be at full strength.
Right.
And so, yeah, I agree that there is risk, but this is risk that I am willing to take. I'm willing to buy Cooper Kupp wherever he falls in drafts because he will fall a little bit. He's not the type. He's not, a burner. He's not the guy that, sometimes after an ACL you deal with hamstring issues when you're a speedster guy. He's not that type. So I think he plugs right back into the offense and is great. As the season goes on, he's going to get better and better. This was
that
not,
part I agree with.
So I'm fine drafting him. I think he is the most valuable of the 3 wide receivers for draft versus what you're going to get.
Are you willing to draft Cooper Kupp in that 5th, 6th round with the possibility that it might be 3 to 4 weeks into the season before you can even actually use him.
I mean, I believe
I think he'll be drafted right around there.
When the draft rolls around, we'll know more about his health. So far, everything is on track. He should be good to go. Given that, I don't think you're going to have 3 or 4 weeks where you can't play Cooper Kupp. I would put him in my lineup week 1, and I think he's going to do fine. That doesn't mean he doesn't get better as the year goes on, but I don't anticipate that I'm going to have lost weeks with Cooper Kupp.
Jared Goff loves him. I mean, you look at the red zone targets, 29% in 2017. In the games he played last year, 24%. So when you're around the red zone, he's looking to Cooper Kupp to bail him out and to put him in a good position. I tend to think if he's on the field, he's going to be valuable. That's probably the way to look at it. I want to hear you guys' thoughts on this next guy. Marvin Jones only played 9 games, knee bruise last year in Week 10. Went out for the season in Week 12. Coming back to a team, no Golden Tate, but a talented guy that had a top 12 performance the year before.
Oh, really?
I'm not super excited.
I'm in. I'm back. Sign me up for more Marvin.
Yeah, are you really? So
yes.
Now, is this the Golden Tate leaving? Because Golden Tate, obviously was gone. I don't remember how the weeks lined up last year.
He didn't play much without him.
But Kenny Galladay is going to take over. He's the one.
That's fine. I can handle Marvin Jones being the wide receiver too in this scenario. It was a really bad year for Matthew Stafford. I'm going to believe he improves in the second year of the offense. And I believe in Marvin Jones, the player. Meanwhile, I don't believe that their new free agent signing of Danny Amendola, I don't think he can last the whole time. And you're going to be back to 2 options with Kerryon Johnson.
Marvin Jones is still 6'2".
Still, yes.
He's 29 years old, coming off a 9-touchdown season in 2017. He's not going to be a volume receiver. He never has been. He's going to be a red zone receiver. He's going to be a big play receiver. He had 18 yards a catch in 2017. He only caught 61 passes in his top 12 season.
We knew the 18 was unsustainable, but the year before that, right around 17, and you saw that plummet in 2018 down to 14.5. It was, if you watched Marvin Jones, which honestly I had him selfishly, so I watched him very carefully. Those 50-50 balls, which they hit on like every single one of them in 2017, Stafford and Jones had a very strong connection with that type of pass. Marvin Jones was just getting missed or was dropping because he was getting hit. I think it was just a probability bounced the wrong way. So I'm still very in on Marvin Jones, and I think he's going to be close to free.
I think there's going to be a lot of situations where you're the Kenny Galladay owner and you're rolling your eyes because this week was a Marvin game.
Yes.
I can agree with that part, but I mean Marvin Jones he's a best case scenario, he's in the 60 catches. This is not a guy I think that's going to really help you. He's on a team that is now wanting to run the ball more, pass the ball less. If you have fewer passing attempts in that offense and you've got a guy who caps in the 60s, what is he getting you now? 50 catches? And that's just not going to do it for fantasy. You're not going to know which week he gets the long bomb touchdown. Coming off injury, 29 years old. We'll have to see what they do in the draft. But, yeah, I'm not excited at all about Marvin Jones.
Well, let me ask you this, Mike, because I know where I side on it. If you had to pick between the Kenny Galladay, where is he going to go, 2-3 rounds earlier?
At minimum.
Minimum, right?
Kenny Galladay will be in the top 4 rounds easy. I
don't see – I think you're going to basically have identical statistical seasons between those two guys with the coin flip on who gets some more touchdowns.
I don't think it'll be identical. I would side heavily in I would say 95% chance that Kenny Galladay has a better season.
Did Galladay miss any games last year?
I can't say off the top
Just
of my head.
for context, he was at 70, just over 1,005.
Galladay started 13 games, played in 15. So he did miss one, didn't start the whole season.
But where is Marvin Jones going to be drafted? I mean,
8th round, 9th round,
maybe.
Yeah, probably.
Because that's where he was going last year.
If it was up to me, 12th round, 13th.
His
round.
ADP in a half-point league is actually back at the 6th right now.
I don't think that'll hold up.
Where Galladay is going 4th round.
Yeah, I don't think that holds up for Jones.
See, and I
He'll
think
drop.
what you were going to say is what's the gap? So if Galladay
So what would you prefer?
If Galladay is 5th round and let's say Marvin Jones is
9th round.
10th round, I would still prefer
If Galladay is a 5th round, yes. But if Galladay catches his hype train, which he's
Galladay would be a 3rd or 4th round pick.
yes, he will. That's what I'm saying. If a 3rd round pick for Kenny Galladay or a 8th round pick, 9th round pick for Marvin Jones, I will take the value. I don't want the one.
What does he finish at, Mike? Wide receiver what?
Well, his finish will be – I don't think the finish will be as strong as the impact he'll make for your team. I agree with Jason. Yes, you won't know when it's going to happen, but when he'll have his big games. But you're not counting on Marvin Jones to do that. He's your flex play. He's your nitro boost that if he hits, I win. I win this week automatically. If he doesn't hit, I still have a good chance to win.
Deshaun Jackson or Marvin Jones in 2019, Jason?
Deshaun Jackson.
Deshaun
for
Jackson.
Sure.
All right, Will Fuller and Kiki QT. Let's remember both of these guys in Houston.
Oh, Fuller.
DeAndre Hopkins dominates all the headlines in Houston, but Fuller and QT they have both shown fantasy owners something. They've also shown them repeated injury issues.
I mean, Will Fuller, that dude has just dominated when he's on the field. Every time he's out there, he torches guys and destroys his legs. What do you make of him? He's one of those guys, I was talking earlier about the hamstring issue, right? He's dealt with hamstring issues coming off an ACL. There's a huge injury risk with Will Fuller. Huge. But if he's out there.
But okay, well, knowing the injury risk is so huge, are you out?
I'm not out on Fuller. No, I'm willing to take the gamble because so let's say let's compare Marvin Jones and Will Fuller to each other, right? And let's say Marvin Jones is a guaranteed 16 games and Will Fuller is a chance at being healthy, a gamble. I would rather have that, right? I'd rather have a guy where when he's out there, I'm confident in starting him on my fantasy roster, and then he's not out there. And unfortunately, if he's injured, I've got to cut him. I've got to find someone else to replace him. But when he's in and starting on my roster, he's beating my opponent. I would rather take the risk on a guy like Will Fuller than a guy like Marvin Jones. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
it makes sense, but I don't think I agree with it. I don't think I agree with the fact that
maybe we disagree on what Will Fuller is?
Well, yeah, I mean, when Marvin Jones played last year, he was more consistent week to week than Will Fuller was. Will Fuller had big-time games, and so can Marvin Jones, and both are playing a similar role, right? You're the two on a team with probably a good quarterback, not necessarily prolific passer, but you like Fuller more is what you're saying. You'd rather take a shot on him, whereas I see QT as more of a potential negative on secondary targets outside of Hopkins. Like, Hopkins is far more dominant than Galladay.
Yes.
He's going to have far more receptions than Galladay will. And then QT, I think, has big-time upside as that slot guy, whereas right now I don't know if I believe Danny Amendola really has it. So I lean Marvin Jones more than the often injured Fuller. But, Mike, you might –
The hard part for Will Fuller is the targets because when Kiki showed
up – 4 picks from each other, by the way.
What, Fuller and Jones?
Fuller and Jones. Marvin
on calculator?
Yeah, 609, Fuller 701. So this is a good comparison.
Is that when Fuller started the year, because he was coming off another injury, he got in to week 2. I mean, 9 targets, 11 targets, 5. I'll even take the 5, but that's when Kiki started entering the realm and it dropped to 3 targets, 2 straight games, and then Kiki was missing, so it kind of went back up.
Kiki wasn't there in the beginning, right?
Right. When the really high volume was there, Kiki was not playing. So, and Kiki's a target machine. Like that's the role he plays in the offense. So it's hard for me to get behind Will Fuller, even though I want to, because of the tertiary target that Kiki QT is versus Danny Amendola.
Brooks, how many games does Will Fuller play next year? Tell the people.
Probably about 10.
10 games. What last year he missed from what week? Where did he go out last year? I just missed
Fuller
it.
went out
in week 9, didn't return, and then QT only played week 11 and 12, and basically missed from the same time span. They could be a pretty good team next year.
Yeah,
if these guys
great.
can stay healthy.
If the 3 of them can stay on the field, their offense is going to be great. It's going to be a whole lot better than the Lions' offense.
Do you like Kiki with Fuller out there? Is that where you would prefer the offense?
PPR. Sure, PPR, I'll take the chance.
All right, let's not forget about another player here, another couple of wide receivers we want to bring up before we change positions. Albert Wilson, Marquise Goodwin, Geronimo Allison. Now, I know I've heard Geronimo Allison's name recently on the show. We've talked about him, an opportunity for him to be kind of like in a different, I guess, tier than those three other rookies that each had a few games in Green Bay. I've heard you talk about Albert Wilson, too. Obviously, he was lightning in a bottle last season. He had a monster week 3, a monster week 6, but he's not a prototypical receiver situation. A lot of handoffs, a lot of stuff behind the line of scrimmage, screen passes. I have not heard you talk about Marquise Goodwin. You both seem very out on Marquise Goodwin.
Very astute.
A player who, look, in the back half of 2017 and then in parts of last year, and especially in the preseason with the rapport with Garoppolo, who obviously went out, Goodwin was hyped in a big way last season. Why are you so out on him? Is it just Dante Pettis? Is it injury?
It's injury. I mean, it's the same reason I was out on him last year. His injury history is a whole nother level, and it's unfortunate. It's concussions.
Like Will Fuller level?
I'm saying a whole nother
concussions.
level from Will Fuller's, which is saying something. I just don't believe that Goodwin will be able to stay on an NFL field for, I don't know, man. You put the over-under at 4.5 games, and I guess I'll statistically have to take the over, but I just don't see Goodwin as an NFL wide receiver that can stay out there. I don't remember how many concussions he's had, but it's
numerous.
An uncomfortable amount.
The thing about Goodwin, because I side more with Jason of being out, knowing that you're going to be wrong for a couple games. I don't doubt that when he's on the field, he can have a big game or two. It seemed like they were really wanting to make the transition to Marquise Goodwin to be the guy for that team. They've moved on from Pierre Garçon, but I think that Dante Pettis is going to be the guy for that team.
It's worth highlighting the injury that he missed time with last year was a quadricep injury.
Right.
Yes.
It wasn't related to a concussion history, but that is a risk with him. I think there could be some value in Marquise Goodwin. If you guys like the offense so much, you talked about it. Dante Pettis, I don't think he's going to carry the entirety of that load. I think Goodwin is very interesting as a value.
All right.
And to be fair, while the concussions to me are the scary part from both a fantasy and a human side, he's missed a lot of games with a lot of other injuries. Missed games from ribs, missed games from ankles, wrist, calf, quad.
He's a 9th-round pick right now. So he's basically, he's in the Curtis Samuel, Adam Humphries range.
Yeah.
So
all right, yeah, maybe some value.
It's fascinating to me when you go from, I just remember how many shows last offseason it was Marquise Goodwin talk. So
right.
That's why we want to remember and have these discussions again, because sometimes you buy back in.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you were validated on your fear of injury during the season, and you don't want, you have a policy. You just don't want to put those guys in your team. You don't want to go through it again. I get that.
Yeah.
Running backs, Derrius, Guice. We can throw Chris Thompson in there too, because all the running backs were hurt last year in Washington for a second straight season. Sat out the entire 2018 year due to a torn ACL. Looked great in the preseason, did he not?
Yes, he did.
But not only did he have the torn ACL, he also underwent 3 additional surgeries to clean up an infection in the same knee.
I can't imagine that's good.
No, and Matthew Betts, one of our writers, he said the infection can't be taken for granted, delayed the rehab, delayed the ACL, behind schedule.
They signed AP.
They re-signed Adrian Peterson.
I think that goes along with the injury recovery, right? It's not it's not just, they don't like Guice and so they signed AP and he's going to take on the workload. It's you have a guy now who they've brought in to say AP can do enough of the job to where you're not going to thrust Guice into a workhorse role, right? I can't imagine them coming out and being like, okay, Guice, here's 24 carries.
It would be a second half of the season type of ascent for Guice, in my opinion.
Right.
Right. That would be something where, like, Didn't we see that with Dalvin Cook? Wasn't it the fear with Dalvin Cook coming back?
Yes.
That we thought we'd see a lot of things can change quickly because coaches in the NFL want to win the game, and as soon as they see a player's okay or they're capable, like we thought Latavius, right? Latavius. It was like week 2, and it was like Dalvin Cook's Dalvin's the man when he's healthy. So that possibility exists. I know that they like Guice's flexibility in the passing game and the ability. They keep reiterating that. But what about, is there room for Chris Thompson as well in that offense?
I do think so. I mean, I don't think Derrius Guice or Adrian Peterson are out there to be the pass catching back. I think that's what Chris Thompson is. I think it's this is an example, Mike, of the 1-2 punch, right?
Yeah.
Like whether it's Guice or AP, and then you bring in Thompson, as the pass catcher. That's
What's going on in Washington?
It's a good question.
It's 3 different surgeries, right? You have, because Colt McCoy, who had what seemed like a simple injury, he's having another surgery. Alex Smith had complications from surgery, and Derrius Guice had complications from surgery.
Well, they can never field an offensive line because they always go down to injury.
Something's happening in D.C.
You are right that it does. I don't have the numbers, so I can't scientifically say if they're getting hurt more. It certainly feels like they do.
I'm a scientist. I can say that. They are getting hurt more.
Thank you, Dr. Moore.
Thank you. You are welcome.
Devonta Freeman, Ajayi, Ronald Jones, 3 more forgotten players heading into the new year. We've talked a little bit about Devonta Freeman.
How dare you read them in a role like that?
Well, how would you want them read, Mike?
Devonta Freeman. Stop.
You don't want
Ajayi, Ronald Jones.
You don't want him lumped in with Ajayi and Ronald Jones.
That is correct.
Well, now you've gotten the opportunity to pull him out and to talk about him independently. Mike, this is one of your picks from the overreaction episode.
Yeah, I feel like I have professed my love for Devonta Freeman, so I will yield my time to Dr. Moore to talk about Devonta Freeman, see if his take agrees.
Can Dr. Moore
with me.
yield his time to Matthew Betts, an actual doctor?
Sure. Let's hear from the actual physical therapist and see what his take is.
He thinks that the knee injuries are likely to recur.
No!
He sees playing 16 games as very unlikely. The team needs to utilize Ito Smith, much like Tevin Coleman. Spell Freeman. He sprained his MCL and PCL.
I have just spotted a problem with Matthew Betts' argument.
Uh-huh.
You can't use Ito Smith like Tevin Coleman.
You can't?
No.
Why is that?
Because he's Ito Smith, and Tevin Coleman is better.
I don't know.
I stand by it.
Okay. Thanks, Mike. You own Devonta Freeman.
Not a doctor.
Now, here's the reality that this is why I actually like Freeman quite a bit. Obviously, every single running back out there, I don't care if you have an injury history or don't, you have an injury risk, every single one. They just take too much damage. So if we take that away a little bit and we say, okay, he's had the time to recover, he's going to come back, should be completely healthy to start the season, sure, like every running back, there's a chance of re-injury. But he's the starting running back on a really good offense with a financial situation where they owe him still quite a bit of money. He is clearly their main guy. Ito Smith is the backup, and they'll probably draft someone else. They need a third back after Tevin Coleman left. But I think I always take situation over talent, and that would include injury risk here. The situation says Devonta Freeman is going to be a great value.
Rushes, receptions, touchdowns, yards, all decreasing 3 consecutive years for Devonta Freeman before last year.
Yeah, the decrease doesn't scare me away from Devonta Freeman because he was it. Like when he was the number 1 guy, it's because he stayed healthy and he was the only running back in existence in Atlanta. Tevin Coleman could not stay on the field that year. So that doesn't concern me that they're going down. The opportunity is too good for Devonta Freeman for me to pass on him.
3rd round pick right now around Phillip Lindsay and Aaron Jones.
I would take Freeman over both those guys.
Can we talk about Ajayi and Ronald Jones now?
Yes, now that they are in their own category.
Ajayi still has no home. Should we care about where he lands?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he's the type of back that might have to wait until after the NFL draft, see what's happened, maybe wait for an injury, but he is
They
young
said he's still talking with the Eagles, too.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I mean, I like, if I had to grab one of these guys now for this upcoming season, I would grab Ajayi, who does not have a team.
Between him and Ronald Jones.
Between him and Ronald Jones. Now, am I just too far on my Rojo hate blockers?
Yes.
Thinking he's not good? Would either of you rather have Ronald Jones over Ajayi?
Ajayi has a degenerative knee, and he's coming off of an ACL tear in the other knee.
And does not have a team.
So that could be an example of you overemphasizing 23 carries of Rojo's career.
I am on the side of very concerned for Ronald Jones turning into a massive NFL bust, but I'm going to take him over Ajayi.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to take him over Ajayi.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Reasonable.
Well, I mean, let's talk about Ajayi is probably going to. I mean, they said he was talking with Indianapolis, right? If you put him in Indianapolis with that backfield, or you put him in Philadelphia again, I'd probably take him over Ronald Jones.
You put him on a team, and I will take him over Ronald Jones. Because
do you agree with that, Brooks? Who would you rather have? Oh, wait. You have Ajayi in your Dynasty League.
Yeah, but I accept the realities of Ajayi.
If you could trade Ajayi straight up right now for Ronald Jones, would you do it?
In a Dynasty.
Ooh, in a Dynasty League, would you do that?
Yeah, I probably would.
Yeah.
Oh,
take the chance.
I would.
All right, I need to acquire Ronald Jones real quick.
Yeah.
All right.
You guys are crazy.
You're
that's a really good point. If I can steal Ronald Jones for what he deserves to be, which is nothing, and then give him to Brooks for Ajayi, I'm on it.
You're gone for the rest of the show. All right, forgotten quarterbacks. Jimmy G, Mike, you brought him up earlier already. Can he be a QB1?
Yep. Yeah, I think so.
Cam Newton, 14 games played, busted shoulder.
He can be a quarterback one, I believe, too.
Andy Dalton, Alex Smith. Well, look, is Alex Smith forgotten? No, he should be forgotten. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Alex Smith.
I feel bad for Alex Smith because he's a competent, capable NFL quarterback. But he had a massive, severe injury in Week 11, and clearly that team is not planning for him.
Yeah, I can't imagine that he ever plays a snap in the NFL again.
Whoa, that's extreme.
Yeah, I mean,
not this year. I don't think he plays this year.
No, I don't think he plays this year, and I think next year they've got to solve their quarterback situation as opposed to having whatever age Alex Smith is coming off of that injury back to be the starter. So,
did you guys hear Jay Gruden has like no say in anything going on there?
Really?
I was listening to a lot of, and you take it for what you will. I mean, some people that have knowledge of the situation. We all know Daniel Snyder and the situation with him spending money, you know, the big contract that went out to Collins. Apparently, Jay's got no say and nobody informs him what's going on. He's super frustrated.
Very interesting.
Yeah. So I don't think he had any say in Case Keenum coming in.
Why would you keep him around?
I don't know. He's been a coach for them for a long time, like one of the longer durations for a Washington head coach.
It's almost like they have a really bad owner.
Well, that much is true. It's funny, too.
I don't know. It could be.
Could be. Cam Newton, you like him? Andy Dalton?
Well, yes, I mean, Cam Newton, it's all about the shoulder because that thing was done. I mean, he was a floppy noodle throwing the football towards the end of the season. Can he get that thing right before the season starts? I think so, but that's 100% you have to see what's going on with his health.
All right, there is an article by Matthew Betts on the site, What's Wrong with Cam Newton's Shoulder. Goes into more detail.
It was filled with aluminum foil.
And then Andy Dalton has been a fantasy guy for certain durations of his career.
No, I'm done. I'm done with this.
All right, sir.
Are we still doing this? We're still going with the hope of Andy Dalton?
No, we're not. I'm just bringing him up.
Dr. Moore.
Tyler Boyd was good last year. AJ Green,
I'll be
Joe
honest.
Mixon.
No, Jason.
No, I will be completely
Red
honest
Rocket.
here
You're getting sucked in.
and say that Andy Dalton could very well be. They could draft a quarterback. Andy Dalton could be on the street this year. I wouldn't doubt that.
No, I think he plays this year.
They have enough weapons. They have an offensive-minded coach. We have seen with good coaching, we've seen Andy Dalton be good. I'm not saying Andy Dalton is, a top 10 quarterback in the NFL or is anybody I would want my franchise to be reliant on. But as a streaming option through the year, I think he'll have plenty of successful games.
Everyone can be streamed.
Sure, but worthy of being drafted with your last pick is my point. Everybody can be streamed. You can stream 40 quarterbacks through the year, plenty of which you won't draft. If I have players on the board that I love in round 10 and 11 and 12, and these
like
players
Marvin Jones
are falling to me. If I was Mike and I wanted Marvin Jones and he's there in the 12th, I would be like, oh, I'm so happy, and I keep waiting on the quarterback and everyone's gone. Look, Andy Dalton he's not great, but there are situations here with the pass catching with Tyler Boyd, AJ Green, Joe Mixon, currently John Ross, with offensive coaching coming into town. Maybe they open it up a bit.
All right, we good to move on to tight ends?
Yep.
All right, O.J. Howard, 10 games played last year. Delaney Walker, haven't heard that name in a long time, only played 1 game. But he was a very consistent fantasy tight end for many years. Jonnu Smith, 13 games played, left at the end of the season.
Jonnu Smith was so disappointing.
Look, I don't like either of those guys in Tennessee to bounce back because Jonnu Smith didn't do anything once Delaney left. Delaney's coming off an ankle fracture and dislocation. They passed the ball almost the least in the NFL. I'm very hesitant about them. Tyler Eifert, Mike, you've brought him up as a surprise potentially.
Yeah.
He's a handsome son of a gun.
Well, I just won't. I'll be out on Andy Dalton, but I will be in taking the shot on super late round Tyler Eifert.
If you're in
That's
on
interesting logic that makes no sense.
It's weird logic. And if you're in on Tyler Eifert, are you in on Jordan Reed?
No.
Because Jordan Reed is practicing in full and
maybe
still out there.
What is the consistency?
Can you combine them into one
of his floppy toes?
Tyler Reed?
It is wet noodle.
Like how flopping are they?
I just think
when these toes are flopping,
I think you're just don't come a calling.
Don't come a knocking.
Don't come a knocking. When these toes are flopping, don't come a knocking.
Yeah.
You haven't come a knocking on for Jordan Reed for a while.
Yeah.
Look, I'm done with Eifert.
That's fine. I am perfectly happy.
Too much has to go
standing on
right.
Eifert Island by myself.
Yeah, like last year. People did the same thing last year. Look,
he got hurt. Oh, yeah. And he'll probably get hurt. I get it.
Okay, all right.
He's probably going to get hurt.
You'll draft him?
If the tight end landscape moves a certain way in my draft, then, yeah, I would be willing to take a shot on him.
He is the perfect comp for Andy Dalton. Everything I just described about what would have to happen for me to be okay leaving a draft with Andy Dalton is exactly what would have to happen to be like, okay, well, I can take a shot at Tyler.
But I would rather have my tight end come out and stink week 1 than have my quarterback come out and stink week 1.
Stink one?
Stink. Both.
You don't want your quarterback to come out and stink one. No, I don't either. No, I mean, O.J. Howard is by far the best forgotten player to pay attention to because, look, he led all the tight ends in the NFL in yards per reception. He's a absolute beast when it comes to his athleticism and the way that, he could be used.
That's what it is. This 100% comes down to player versus scheme because we just have not seen what we expect O.J. Howard to be in the NFL, what his draft capital was, what he was turning into this past year is not the type of usage that Bruce Arians uses his tight end for. I mean, he had no one in Arizona, fine, but he had Heath Miller for a very long time when he was the OC in Pittsburgh, and Heath Miller was always the picture of fine. It's fine.
40-something receptions.
It's fine for my fantasy season to have Heath Miller. I mean, the funny thing about Miller is he had his very best season the year that Bruce Arians left.
I think there is concern. I mean, there's concern the same way you would have for Gesicki in Miami, where Ryan Fitzpatrick doesn't throw the ball to tight end.
Far more for Gesicki.
But you do have even the issues that you've had with Evan Ingram in the past, when Odell Beckham Jr. was there and Sterling Shepard and Saquon Barkley. There's a world where there's enough downfield weapons and throwing to the wide receivers that Howard isn't the pinnacle of consistency, even if he gives you huge games.
Right.
Jack Doyle, any interest?
Mm-hmm.
You do have interest in Jack Doyle.
Yeah.
Don't they have 16, 18 tight ends there?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter to me because Jack Doyle's the number one. He's the number one tight end of the team.
What?
Yes, he
What?
is. He is 100%.
No. He was. I will grant you
He
that
still
last
is.
year when he was out on the field, he was the number one target. He ran the most routes between him and Ebron. That ship has sailed, my friend.
Has not.
It went away with Jack Doyle's hip.
No. Eric Ebron left when Devin Funchess came into town.
Nope.
Yeah.
Yes, what is this?
Yes.
An Ebron?
Yes.
You're
your counterpoint?
making me
Was
an
the
Ebron
notes?
to Doyle, waterbed?
I will bet you. How do we want to frame this?
Ebron to Doyle.
Fine. We'll just go heads up.
Waterbed.
Huzzah!
You want to pre-celebrate?
I do. Give me a cup of water.
Mike, I think what I've learned from today's show, among many things, is that Mike is the most forgiving of the three of us.
Perhaps.
Because he wants to jump, or I guess something we've always known, he's the biggest risk taker.
Yes.
Yes. That's true.
Diving in for that Doyle Eifert value, diving in for that Marvin Jones, Ronald Jones value.
Oh, no, that's just a stink fest where I had to take the guy who actually is functioning knees.
Mike just loves Ronald Jones.
Is he a your guy?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, him and Marlon Mack.
All right, we do have one more thing for today.
Pristine deal of the day.
Allen Robinson, signed Bears jersey, just got announced today that the NFL season will begin with Packers-Bears.
Very nice. I should have got this one. Under $50 for a Beckett witnessed Allen Robinson signed Chicago Bears jersey. I am a proud dynasty owner of Allen Robinson.
Proud?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, you weren't super proud last week when you were talking about it.
I am super proud to have Allen Robinson be my fourth wide receiver.
Ah, yes.
I am thrilled for him to be my wide receiver 4.
Hey, Mike, did you notice that Jason has another super team, this time in Dynasty?
Oh, don't say those words. Please
It
don't.
probably will go undefeated.
I'll be honest. I thought about screenshotting my team and posting it out there, and I was like, not happening because
That's
my
okay.
super team last year.
He's got a really good team, a super team.
It's mediocre.
He's got.
I mean, don't get me wrong. It did just win the championship.
Carson Wentz, Todd Gurley, Leonard Fournette, Antonio Brown, Julio Jones, Devonta Adams, Allen Robinson. Who's your tight end? Eric Ebron. Interesting.
Yes.
Oh, weird. Weird that you're so in on Eric Ebron.
Weird that I'm in on the guy that I've loved since he came out of college.
He's biased.
Where's your jersey? Where's your Ebron jersey?
Where is my Ebron?
You need a browse.
For the record, I have Jack Doyle nowhere. Nowhere.
You must not believe in him.
Thanks for tuning in. PristineAuction.com to browse their hundreds of daily auctions. Thanks for tuning in, for listening. We'll be back on Thursday.
See you then. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.